Welcome back, everybody, to another Sit Down with Sammy. Today, I have the privilege of doing an interview with a international basketball player, Emilio Parks. Emilio Parks is a 6'6" international player for the last 4 years. He is a 2010 Ashtabula Lakeside graduate. He was a 3-year letter winner while he was in high school for basketball. He was also a 1-year letter winner for football, which seems to be the thing to do. Everybody gives that senior year a shot. So I would like everybody to welcome Emilio Parks, and thank you for coming on and doing a sit down with Sammy.
I'm happy to be here, man. Let's get to it.
So yeah, let's jump right in. The first thing I want to kind of talk about is what helped develop your game when you were a kid? Like a lot of people, that's where their love for basketball really happens. So how does yours come to be?
Actually, I grew up watching a lot of NBA, and my main, goal was to play in the NBA. Like about 4th, 5th grade, I was just like, I made my decision. I wanted to play, and my grandfather's completely supported me. My father, he supported me. Actually, bought a hoop, and just he's like, you know what, you want to play basketball? I got a hoop for you. Got a basketball. Go out there and practice. So for a while, I did it for myself. Just out there practicing by myself, and I think it just me being out there every day, the whole summer, playing with my friends, it really just grew. The love grew for me, and it made me want to fully play like full-time basketball. This is college, this is high school, this is middle school. Every bit of my life, and I decided that day that I wanted to play basketball fully.
Yeah, so at that time, basketball has a lot of different for youth. There are a lot of different opportunities, whether you're talking about PAL, YMCA, or just the fact that neighborhood schools existed at that time. So you could walk around the corner and there was a basketball court or at least a basketball hoop within walking distance of everybody.
Yeah, that's one thing that I grew up on is so much, outside basketball. And growing up, like that's all we had. We didn't have like iPhones. We didn't have we had the video games, but it wasn't as evolved like it is. These kids now, they can play online. They can stream. They can YouTube. We didn't have any of that. We had toys, and we had video games, and we had basketball outside, and we had football. Like my main thing playing with my friends was football and basketball. And one thing I did, growing up was play basketball outside. And even my family, they would tell you, like, we would play in the kitchen with Nerf hoops. Like it got to my love got to that level where I had to play basketball no matter the occasion. I told my mom I wanted some Nerf hoops. I made my brothers play with me. So it was no denying me basketball, and that's the love that I decided to make that my passion. So there's until this day, there's still no stopping me until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, so you get to play outdoor basketball with guys in your age bracket, like Cody Maxwell, Joe Kelly, Trey Scruggs. You guys are at Chestnut. One thing I do remember always, and because I grew up on Adams Avenue, so Chestnut was my home court too. Is boy, that Chestnut court was different, and you really had to learn to play basketball a little bit differently over there because the hoop was I don't even know if it was actually 10 feet. And it wasn't really straight, and that court was not super even either. So
right. Honestly, that court, that was my first stage. Like I was actually playing PAL, but PAL I didn't look at it like as okay, there's gonna be a ton of people watching us play. Chestnut was my first stage, and I think my fourth grade year. 4th and 5th grade was really tough. Like it was a tough, cookie for basketball for me. I was just still trying to figure out talent, and there was guys that I can't admit that were better than me at the time, and and it was crazy because at that age, when I seen those films that my dad actually had of me playing there, it was really like overwhelming for me. Like I was like, I'm not the best player I can be out there. So Chestnut was my first stage, and I knew before my sixth grade year I was going to make initiative that I was going to get my game together and be one of the best players to play out there.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that's missing with the neighborhood schools too that I remember very in a very positive manner is was like Chestnut playing Mackenzie and Chestnut playing Thurgood Marshall, Chestnut playing Washington. There was competitive spirit actually was bred into kids very early. Because you really had a lot to prove by just beating the school that's 3 houses down from where you live.
You're right.
But so you talk about sixth grade, and then that goes into the junior high aspect of it, where you're playing for West, and West is, still to me, I think to most people in Ashtabula, a very legendary school. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of aura that comes with it. So you get to play against you get that rivalry with Columbus. You know what I mean? That it's real live, and you're starting to, I think in 7th grade is when kids start to maybe separate a little bit. There's not a complete separation, but there's a separation in talent. You're starting to see like, hey, there's some real potential here.
Well, see, the thing is, Wes really molded the athlete in me. I played football both years, 7th and 8th grade there. My dad wanted me to play football. At the time, I was still living with him, so I just, respected his wishes. But I knew that basketball was my thing, and me being able to stay in some shape, playing football and basketball at the time. Of course, now that was the mindset. Like, at the time, I was like, well, I just want to play. So I played both years. I met a lot of people leading up to basketball, so I do not have any regrets playing football before basketball. And I met a lot of good friends leading up to high school. So Wes really, really molded the player that I would have been today. 8th grade. Oh man, like that was the first time I've dunked in the game. That was the first time I played when we actually
Hold
played
on a minute.
Columbus.
Did you just say you dunked in 8th grade? Because I don't remember covering that.
I dunked in 8th grade. I dunked in 8th grade. It was right before I was getting ready to go play AAU, and I dunked in, and I think that's what really grew on me. I didn't know that I was capable of doing it until I did it in practice. So, and a lot of players seen that and they were like, "Oh man, like we have to get this man the ball." Like,
well, you know what? Yeah, because I will say that age bracket, particularly at a junior high, like in the junior high league, if you are good, just get ready to get fed because that's where they are. They're like, all right, I'm gonna just dribble down and pass it to Emilio. He'll do the rest.
Right. Well, we had a lot of good talent at West, so it wasn't really just me. And I think that's what when I came into my freshman year of high school, I knew I wanted to play with that group of people. It's like I wanted to play with the Levi and Trey and Joe Kelly. I really wanted to play with them, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to play the full season freshman because the potential that the coaches seen in me at Lakeside. So, but I did enjoy those 3 years that I did play with them.
Yeah, so let's talk right about that now. Going into high school, now you're a Lakeside Dragon. There's a big change in the city. It's no longer Ashtabula and Harbor. It's Lakeside. It's pretty well established by the time you get there. That Lakeside as a school. But you come in and like you said, you're playing with your friends, and even though 7th grade separates a little bit, high school really separates people. So your talent level is a little bit higher than some of the guys you're playing with at that level already. So they want to pull you up to JV. And that's something that you struggled a little bit with?
I'll tell you this, my mind was not completely on, okay, I can be better than a lot of these players that are playing, even the seniors. And my mindset was like, I want to play with my friends. And I think that really changed the aspect of who was judging me at the time. How the coaches looked at me like, oh, he's not ready because he just wants to play 9th grade. And that became more of an issue for me the more I heard it. Um, so I believe maybe 3 or 4 games in, and see the thing is, Pisano was the freshman and the JV coach at the time, so he was recruiting way before. In 8th grade, he was after he seen one of those games where I played very well. He was on me from that point on. Like, listen, I need you and ready for 9th grade. You're going to play JV, you're going to play varsity. So he put the pressure on me over the summer. And, me still playing AAU basketball at the time, I started to grow and I felt like I was ready to play, but my heart was with the freshmen. And
Yeah.
I was judged very, very much about that decision I made until about halfway through the season. They decided me to just, but listen, you're growing. Freshmen they'll be fine. They can't go to the playoffs. So right now we need you in JV. We need you, so I decided to play the JV and freshman. So I played JV every now and then. I played freshman. So it's like 2 quarters here, 2 quarters there, and prior around the right on time before I believe we was in NEC at the time. Playoffs was getting ready to come up, so about 7-8 games left before playoffs. I played JV full time.
Yeah, so then the separation is actually complete at that time. And that's it. It's funny you say that, because I don't think a lot of people take that into account, that that separation that occurs is not always fun. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
everybody wants to be the best, but in some cases you don't want to be the best alone. You
Right.
want to bring your crew with you.
Right. Yeah, that was my main thing.
You
So
know,
just trying to be able to play with the group that I came in. I think that was my mindset, but I had to mature, if that makes sense.
So your sophomore year, you become a full-time starter. Not to the surprise of anybody. It'd have been, I know personally, like I said, you graduated just enough time before me that I can remember hearing about you coming up. And we had all heard about Emilio Parks, this big kid that was coming up through the ranks. So by sophomore year, you're already a starter. But you said that there's still a little bit of hesitance on your account, because there's not really intimidation, but a little bit of intimidation in that these seniors are supposed to be leading the way.
Right. Pisano put a lot of pressure on me. He took the road at the binder to be the leader of the varsity team. And Pisano, of course, I told you for 2 years straight, Pisano's been on me about becoming, the player that I can be, that he sees in me. And he put a lot of pressure on me my sophomore year to become that. While Mark Hester was still there, Kyron was still there, Jahola was still there. So they looked at it as, well, we're the seniors, you should be paying attention to us. And that became, an issue as well. It was hard for me to adapt, knowing I'm a sophomore, knowing that at that time that sophomores don't get enough seniority or credibility to really lead a team with 8-9 seniors. It's just pretty much impossible.
Yeah, you were the new guy in the group, in a group of guys like you had talked about that had been playing together forever. Like,
and they played together. They played together from Mark's team. They played JV together. And then they were moving on to the varsity level. And then they looking at me from last year. He didn't even want to play with us, back at that time last year. So I think that carried over until we actually started playing, and I was able to earn my respect. I earned my respect in practice, and I earned my respect in the games, and the people knew who I am at that point on. So that really molded what I was able to do moving over into the junior year. So I'm definitely I won't say I won't have any regrets. I think I averaged I was the second my sophomore year. I was second with 14 points a game. Mark had 21, 22 points a game. So I was okay. I was definitely okay with that. I think I knew my position. I played it very well. I got a lot of respect out of the league, and moving forward, I knew that the conference was going to be like, okay, he's going to be a problem, junior and senior year.
Yeah, so that sophomore year, you guys don't have a great record. and that that seems to be the case sometimes, and that happens. And but we go into your, hold on, I'm just pulling up your your sophomore. So that sophomore year, you guys go 8-13. So not a great year at all. But something changes. Your junior year, you come in, and maybe you're not taking over as the complete leader, but your feet are, underneath you now. You know who you are, and I think you start to believe in yourself a little bit more. Let's talk about that junior season.
That season was easily my best season coming back in. Ace Jones had just came back, so I knew I was gonna get Ace back. Ace, me and Ace are like brothers. Ace coming back was like the biggest thing that happened to us, and a lot of people don't give him that much credit. Due to his situation. So we had Fred. Fred Spikes was a man. He was a demon out there. Like, he was a speed demon. He will find you. He was our Chris Paul. Okay, so like, that man can score. He can line it up. He can give you the ball, penetrate and kick. And I just knew with that solid three with James Christian and Steve Luoma, I knew that we had something special. I really did. And with that size, it was hard for teams to beat us. And we honestly, to this day, I believe we really would have done something special, like states-wise, district. Situations didn't go that well, but I feel like I'll never have any regrets with that team. I played very well with that team. We gelled well. I can't imagine how it would be any other way with that group, without that group, basically.
So yeah, you guys go 15-7 that year, which is a stark contrast from the year before. So it is a good year. It's a good year. But then we go into your senior season, and this is the season that people are going to attribute to Emilio Parks. This is your squad. You're the guy. Spoiler alert, you guys have the best record in Lakeside history that year at 18-5. Not only that, but you finish your career that senior year 10th all time in the county with for scoring with 1,221 points. You are the first Dragon to get over 1,000 points in your career. And then this ridiculous stat line that year, that you are averaging 23.7 points a game, 14.5 rebounds a game, 2 assists per game, and 4.2 blocks per game. That is ridiculous. So I think you really very easily walk into the Player of the Year award that year. The Star Beacon. The Star Beacon, one of the writers at the Star Beacon, Bob Edeker, really describes you raising the bar for Lakeside basketball that year. So let's talk a little bit about that senior year.
Oh man, that senior year was it was a lot of emotion. Losing the team that I actually played with beforehand, and I'm looking into these young guys, and I felt like this situation would be a little bit harder for us. Me not having as much seniors. If I do not mistake, I had Billy Downs, Rashad Bell was my seniors. It was about just us three. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember every senior that we actually had, but I do remember I had a lot of young guys: Cody Blizzard, Khalil Chapman, my brother Emilio Parks. We were really young at the time, and it kind of like put Pisano at edge. Like, he was like, like, I don't know what to do. We're young, and I don't want to have the. He put a lot of pressure that year, more pressure than ever, on me than any year that I have played at Lakeside. And I knew coming forth this year that I had to work extra hard, because I knew this was my last season. I knew that I did not want basketball to stop for me. And that was going to change me from the boy to the man. And that was, a big year for us. Losing only 5 games, when I tell you before the season started, I did not expect that, to be honest with you. And that's coming from a player. That's coming from a player. I did not expect us to do that well. We were in a better conference at the time. I remember my junior year, we moved over, and playing against North South University. Those Riverside, those teams, they were fairly still new to us. You know, you remember my sophomore year, we still were in the NEC. So we were
Yeah.
playing Harvey, of course we still play Edgewood, we still played Conneaut, but that was a part of the league, so we played them a couple times, you know. This league that we were in, what was it, the PAC league? Was it PAC or PAL?
It was a pack.
The PAC league.
It was
Okay,
a
so
pack. Yeah.
the PAC was, you know, strictly teams outside of Ashtabula County, and that was a big change. Even my junior year, that was a big change for me because I was like, okay, well, these teams were not bad for us to play as well as we played. Those teams were not bad, and I was completely concerned my senior year about how we were going to perform with that group of kids that we had, and you know, thankfully, we worked hard. We really did, and I was able to lead that young group of team. They really looked up to me as, okay, you're the guy on this team. You have to lead us. I remember Rashad Bell telling me, like, listen, you the one. You've been here. You played here. I haven't played here 4 years. Billy hasn't played here 4 years. You are the one that we look up to. And honestly, like, I took that initiative to lead this team. I took the initiative to lead this team, and I took us to the sectional championship. I really believe we could have beat Menor that year. We were playing so well. I just think that we didn't have a great game plan leading up to that. We didn't have enough scouting to actually beat Menor. But we had the pieces. We had the pieces to beat Menor. We just didn't have the right game plan.
Yeah, it's that year is it's the best year that Lakeside's had. So, you know, there's really no ifs or ands about that. Lakeside has never had a record even close to that since. You as a starter actually finish with the most wins as a Lakeside player ever, with 41 wins and only 25 losses, which if you take into account that over half of those losses in the 25 or almost half of those losses come in your sophomore year is really, really something to think about. Like, that's incredible. Yeah. So kudos to you, because that's absolutely fantastic. You know what I mean? You definitely I agree with Edeker when he says you raised the bar for Lakeside, because it needed to be that. We needed somebody with your talent level to kind of get basketball on the map. And you never know, you know, a lot of times it's you know, it is the kids. It's the little 7 and 8 year olds that are watching Emilio Parks, you know, put down a layup or put down an alley-oop, and they're like, oh, man, I want to do that. You know, so it makes a difference. So very, very good. But like all things, that has to come to an end. So you graduate high school. And one of the things that we kind of talked about before is there is a little bit of trouble with recruiting around here. It's very difficult to get recruited out here. And even with that, we don't necessarily have all the tools we need to get recruited.
Right. To be honest with you, that was the toughest decision for me to make in my life. Like, there's no more life decision. There's no other decision when it comes down to what's gonna, you know, change you. Which college, you know, coming in, you know, high school, I didn't know much about college. My first 2 years, you know, and thankfully Ace Jones and Marcus Pearson, they was, you know, like, you got to think about college. You know, you got to watch some basketball. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Ohio State? You want to go here? Do you want to go there? And, you know, of course, my goal was to play D1 basketball. Like, at one point, my senior year, that's all I looked for was I was the only person making these calls as a player. I shouldn't have been that's in that position. I feel like the coach should have been in that position. The assistant coach should have been in that position to make sure that was possible for me to go to school. And I think we lack that, and it's not talked about enough. You know, I don't want to put all the blame on Pisano. I don't, and I'm not going to. I'm going to also say that, you know, within, you know, the situations that I could have, you know, overcame, I feel like he could have helped me out a lot more with my decision. Calls into these colleges, D1 colleges that were actually interested in me. at the time, which was surprising for me because I didn't have any like D1s actually come out there. I believe word of mouth became a thing more than film, and it wasn't enough for the D1 schools to be like, okay, I'm going to come out here and see what's going on. Like, and Ashtabula County has always had an issue with recruiting, always had an issue with getting the name out for the athlete. And to this day, we still do, and it's an issue. It's an issue that we have not, you know, we overcame the adversity of. Players are overlooked here. They don't get the recognition they should. Ashtabula County is still not known enough around Ohio, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Nobody knows where Ohio is. Nobody knows who Lakeside Dragons are. They don't know who Edgewood is. They don't know who Conneaut, and that's a problem. I mean, there's schools out here, PA schools. There's schools in the district, colleges in the district, Lakeland, Lake Erie. They know about us. They're closer, you know, so they know about us. But the District of Cleveland, most of the people in Cleveland still don't know who we are, and we've been on national news for the worst things, you know. So
Yeah, no, that's
like,
exactly. Yeah, that's one of the Achilles heel for any athlete out here. So one thing I always preach to people who, when I get all fired up and get on my soapbox, is Ashtabula is not devoid of talent. We are not. We have had excellent basketball players such as yourself. We have had excellent football players, Elijah Cooper, Cameron Bob. These guys that would stand out. People like you and those guys would stand out no matter where you put them geographically. You guys are athletes. You're transcendent. And not enough is done, whether it's by the coaching, whether it's by athletic directors, or any, you know, just in general, about getting names out there, taking films, and really marketing our players as D1 players. That's what they are, because that's what you guys, in all reality, that's what you guys are. You guys are D1 talents, and you should be marketed as such.
Right. Yeah. And I really feel like coaching does play a part of recruiting, and also coaching actually they play a big role in making sure players go to school. And I think that's the lack of what we or supposed to accomplish in high school, was be able to get your kids, your players that have played for you all this time to school. And it's become an issue all over Ashtabula County. And there's not one coach that actually can keep a job long enough to care for the kids. And I'm not going to say that my coach didn't care about me. I'm going to say that after the season, it was, okay, I got to focus on who's going to replace Emilio, who's going to replace this, who's going to replace that. More so of less, well, where's he going to school? And I believe that there was this one school that he wanted me to go to that ultimately I didn't want to go to because of, you know, circumstances. Gannon was the number one school that he wanted me to go to. And if I did not go there, then he wasn't really, you know, looking my way for any other help. So he did mention Gannon for me. Gannon came to maybe 2 games, played very well, and, you know, they talked to Pisano. They didn't talk to me. So Pisano led the word and said, yeah, Gannon was here. They seen you play. You know, we you know, they like you. They want you. So I think because I did not choose them, it left a sour taste in Pisano about helping me get to a school. So when other schools called me, such as Bowling Green, he told me about Bowling Green. Brandon Hanna told me about Bowling Green, and they didn't stay consistent because there was no calls being, you know, no call back or no calls being answered. So there was voicemails after voicemails, and at that point they were just like,
yeah, they're like, you know what, we're a Division I program, we'll find somebody else. And that's exactly, you know, that's so problematic, and that's so terrible. But and it really is, that's something that has to change. And I've been working with guys, we have a lot of guys in the city that are actually trying to come up with solutions for that, even if it means an independent outfit that is going to start actively recruiting our athletes out here and getting their marketing out there to help them. Because we have, you know, what Ashtabula is full of is a bunch of guys like yourself, like Elijah Wan, like David Miller, like guys that have gone, beat their own path, figured out how to be successful, are successful, and now are willing to tell youth how to get down that path, since nobody told you guys.
Right.
So, but what ends up happening is you get some offers for like half scholarships and stuff like that, is what you told me. Like Cleveland
Yeah,
State was one of them with a half scholarship.
yeah. Cleveland State wanted me. Cleveland State, Gannon. This is school in Indiana that wanted me. Tom Church actually also had a school in Indiana that wanted me, and those were all half scholarship. There was also a team in PA, and I can't remember. I think it was Americans. I forgot what exactly what it was, but they were D2, and they were a good school. I did reach out to them. A lot of these schools, they did not want me to be too anxious to play my freshman year, so I felt like I was still dealing with the freshman thing at the time. Like, okay, I'm a freshman. I'm not going to be playing at the top level. So what am I going to do? They want me to redshirt and then take a half scholarship. And I'm thinking, I'm doing my research at this time, like, wow, Cleveland State, they want 17,000 for tuition, which is really low. Like, I did, even consider it, like, okay, I can be a D1 athlete, but I have to pay 9,000 to be there, which is really not a lot compared to the teams, the countries, and their schools and our country and our schools. Cleveland State is really low. And I thought about it. I thought about it a lot, and I also thought about Gannon. And Gannon was about 28,000, and they were a D2, but they were really good D2. So I thought it through, but I just, my young mind, I'm like, I'm 18. I don't want to redshirt, and I feel like I'm good enough to play over these seniors. I've learned what just through high school. Like I was able to compete with anybody, and I wasn't going to take freshman redshirt. And ultimately, like, I made a decision that I felt like, okay, I was closer to home. Um, D1 is not knocking on my door, and I feel like it's a lot of that is because of the promotion, being able to market me. I can't market myself in high school. I'm just a kid. I wasn't able to get the type
Not
of
only that, I think there are rules against it. I think there are rules against you reaching out to coaches and
right.
things like that. And I know that the NCAA, and we're going to hit that at the end of the show. They've got some really hypocritical laws when it comes to what athletes can do and what other people can do.
Yeah, the rules are bad, man. Like, and they wonder why the NCAA gets so much backlash. It's like, okay, you don't want kids to do this. You don't want kids to talk to agents. You don't want kids to talk to D1 coaches. But they do. Of course, they're gonna do it. But then you like have to pay this big fine, or you can't go to school for free, or you can't. And it's like you're doing all this, but you're making money off of us. That doesn't. It's like you're pimping us at this point. You're
Bingo.
basically the pimp, and it's like you pimping us out here. We're making money off of you, and NCAA gets all the credit. They have all these criterias. I remember I had to do an NCAA clearance when I kid you not, like there was so many rules that I could not do, and I was like, well, I have no choice but to hope that my coach does his job. Like at the time, I don't know if Fasano knew. Fasano and Mike Osborne, those were the coaches. Brandon was there; he was my mentor, and they didn't know. Brandon knew a little bit. He went to school, so he knew a little bit about NCAA clearance, but it wasn't up to Brandon to make sure. It wasn't really up to Mike Osborne to make sure that I was going to school. Mike Osborne did help me, but Pisano was the main person I depended on to answer
to
those
get everything
calls.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to answer the calls, to make sure I got film. I asked him about this film. I had 37 points this game. I had 40 points this game. Where is this film at? Oh man, I don't know. I'm not the cameraman. So like that really that really put like the biggest dent in marketing for myself. Like if he wasn't gonna do it, maybe I can. Maybe I can get Osborne. I get Osborne to film. He can throw it out there. Listen, we got a guy out here that can play for your team right now. But it was no that jump that I got. I wasn't getting that jump to the part where I kind of like settled, and I'm not afraid to say that. I felt like Lake Erie was a great school. Like it was small, great school. I was offered a full scholarship to play there. I met some good people there. I actually met
Yes.
those good. I met those people, ultimately led to two shootout championships because of them. Ultimately, Ace Jones and then the two players that I met from Lake Erie, those were big impact players. So I'm not going to say I made a bad decision. I just felt like ultimately I didn't fit there. I didn't like the fit.
Let's touch on that shootout because because you're Ashtabula born and bred as well, that the shootout is the national holiday here in Ashtabula. It's the only thing we got. No matter how good or bad the economy is, the shootout will always happen. So you've got a couple championships, which is those are like the gold pants of Ashtabula.
For a year, yep, exactly.
So you get you get bragging rights for a full year if you win it. Let's talk about some of your favorite memories playing in the shootout. I mean, you're still an active player, but some of your active memories so far.
Well, the good thing is I was able to, right after high school, I was eligible to play. So my first experience in the shootout, I played off the fence. So it was, a captain. You have a captain
Yes,
and you got a
sir.
co-captain, and then you got to pick off the fence. So this year exactly was my first year playing. I think everybody in Asheville knew, my talent. So I actually took AJ Harrison. Harrison was my co-captain at the time. So Harrison, and then we had AJ. I remember Omar. There's another guy that I didn't even know, and then and I'm just like, you know what, let's just go with it. So we actually went to the finals and played against Odell's team, and Odell came in late, and he had some guy from PA, and I was like, his name was Asa. And like when I tell you, like, Odell was trying to intimidate the shootout with Asa, he did just that. Like Asa was like a lockdown Tony Allen type of defender type player. He was guarding me at the time, and I'm just like, man, like this dude can play. So my potential was tested, and that's when I tell you that the shootout really made me tougher. Not even the shootout, playing outside made me tougher leading up to college basketball. So when I was being tough from outside basketball, then I'm working on my craft in college. So every year I come home and I just got more for you. Now I got more for you. Now I got more for you.
Yeah,
now
you're getting this well-rounded game.
And that was like a big thing for me. Like people used to be mad that I come home. I would drive 8 hours from Greensboro, North Carolina, just to win a championship. And people still question, like, why did you come? I'm like, listen, this is our July 4th, and this is our Easter. This is our Christmas. This is what Ashtabula is. This is what we're known for. People come from other cities, other states to play. Canton. I remember a team came from Pittsburgh. I'm just like, why? Y'all, how do y'all even know about this? Family, word of mouth. Teams have came from other cities just to play, just to try to show us up. And ultimately, if it's Cleveland versus Ashtabula's on our side, and I think that was like the biggest. I don't care what team is in the finals. Ashtabula was the biggest when it came down to it. We got your back, and I think that was really like a big thing for me. More so, me just winning those championships or getting to the finals and losing. That's one thing. The shootout, I was like, even when we got to the finals and lost, I'm like, I'm coming back, so don't worry. Like, the last few years has been rough. The ones that I should have 4 championships, to be honest with you. One championship was taken from me because of a fight. And then one championship, we're co-champions, but it got too dark. So
yeah.
I feel like, I hate to say it, but I'm probably going to retire from the shootout. I think I'm done. So that really hurt me. It's like, I feel like Aaron Gordon. I was cheated out of 2 championships in the dunk contest. So I'm cheated out of 2 championships in the WESTSIDE shootout. So I really was trying to catch Odell, like my main, like for fun. I was trying to catch Odell Parker, but if I can't and you take it from me like that, then I'm done. Like I can't do it. And I think outside is getting to me a little bit more. Last year was really tough. I had just came home from Venezuela, and I was in really good shape. And I still wasn't prepared for all that heat. I was not prepared.
I
So
when I did the interview with Rashad and we talk about it, I don't know how Bill Osborne does it. I mean,
oh
listen,
man.
it can be 50 degrees for 363 days. He
Right.
finds the one day where it's not only going to be 90 degrees, it's going to be 300% humidity.
Yeah. It's so bad. Like every year, I think it was one year it was cloudy and I was so excited. I was so excited. And like by 12, 1 o'clock it rained. And I'm like, wow. So
Yep.
it rained. We had to move to the YMCA. Then they're like, oh, we're gonna go back outside, y'all. It's about 4 o'clock. When I kid you not, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you ask me as a player, I believe this is why we lost this year. It's because we actually had a really good team at the time too. I brought another guy from Lake Erie, and then I still had Ace. So we were like still deep. But that loss in that humid heat, I kid you not, like I didn't even feel like myself when we lost that. I didn't even feel I just like that humid heat hit you, and it's like Rashad. I mean not Rashad, but Mike tried to like force us outside. Like, all right, y'all, it's time to go. And I'm like, man, like it's hot, more hot than it was. I'm just like that humid heat right after it finishes raining, the sun is just burned down all the. It just like dried up all the rain on that court, but it felt so. It was bad. And
It is. Look, I am
yeah,
I am not a player in the shootout, but I am a watcher of the shootout every year. And I get a sun. I'm Puerto Rican, and I get a sunburn every year on at the shootout. It never fails. Like it is crazy. But you know what? It
yeah,
is an Ashtabula holiday. I love it. I think you love it. I think anybody who has played basketball, likes basketball, if you're from Ashtabula, you there's love for the shootout. It's one of our very few pastimes here. But I want to transition kind of into Lake Erie that year. So your freshman year, you go into Lake Erie. This coach, on the other hand, doesn't want you to redshirt. He wants you to get out there and play. He recognizes your talent right off the gate. But unfortunately, you have an injury.
This injury was it really like changed a lot because I made a decision that was going to change my life. Leading up to that decision, there was a Conneaut Township league and we were playing outside, and I knew my coach was telling me right when I signed, he was just like, just be careful. I heard about the shootout. See, he's in Painesville. So it's like, and I'm sitting here like, what you know about the shootout, man? What you know about that? He's like, you know what? I'm thinking about coming out there. And I'm just like, you don't got to do all that. You don't have to do that. He was really on me a lot. Like, he was on me a lot. Like, when I signed, I was like basically his. So he was just like, you're not, like, you need to be careful. And, I just kept it, real discreet that I was playing in that league. So, that Conneaut league, actually, I got the injuries from there. And I had no idea I was injured at the time. I still play basketball. So the thing about that injury is that it probably could have been avoided if I would have, handled the situation over the summer. I got hurt in like June. So I could have handled the situation and still would have been able to play by October if I would have known, if it was like a broken something or if it was something that I felt like was bothering me every day, then maybe I would have, but it's like every time I finished playing basketball, my knee swelled up. And I didn't take nothing of it. I was like, okay, it was, at the age of 19, it will, heal.
Kill
So
itself, right? You believe in your body.
So I just let it, just let it pass. I got to a part in August, right before I was getting ready to go to school. I just stopped playing for that month, most of that month, because I wanted it to heal. But right before, of course, NCAA rules, you have to get a physical, you have to get checked up, all this stuff. They checking out my knees, they're doing scanning and all. They're like, listen, do you have cartilage missing in your knee? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I've been wearing knee braces, knee sleeves, whatever I had to do to relieve the pain. Like, that's why, like, you have to get this like really checked out. And that really devastated the Lake Erie coach. And I can easily, can tell easily that he was devastated. I think he knew that I was done for the season. So, once I got my surgery, he was just like, you guys, you can come here to my house and I'll take care of you. You know, he was really showing me the hospitality that most coaches have never done. This is like on a level that I haven't gotten in high school. It's the level I got Daniel Marshall camp. None of this AAU stuff that these coaches just, you know, this coach really cared about me. And I will give him his credit when it was due. Coach Hunt cared. And for me to let him, you know, let him down like that, um, Lake Erie really was a decision I made for, you know, to start my college basketball career that I didn't even give it a chance. And the players there, they were upset with me because I did leave after the season. We didn't play well. Of course, I didn't have anything to do with that. And I didn't think as a freshman that I would be that big of an impact, but he did. He believed in it. He believed in me on that level. He's like, listen, you're going to play. You have the IQ that I have not seen from most players, even juniors and seniors now. And that really meant a lot to me at the time. Like, really? Like, you see that in 19? I'm only 19 years old. You know, he sees what he sees. You know what I'm saying? So and when he told me, you know, before I signed, he's like, I've been to many games. I've seen more games than you know. And I've been looking at you since your junior year. So like my main goal was to you were my number one recruit. And that really made my decision to go to Lake Erie. It did. And once I got hurt, it really messed him up. It messed him up because I remember him telling me that I don't have many years left coaching. So I think once you finish here, I'm going to retire. And I was like, wow. Like he used to have like deep conversations about this stuff, and that thing like really like I think I don't know if that was his way of like, you know, just keeping me here. He knew that I had like this sour taste in Lake Erie because he actually took away some money from me after I got hurt. And like he took like half of my scholarship, and I actually had to take out a loan to cover, you know, the rest of the tuition in order to stay in school, and that really hurt me because he did that behind my back. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, that made my decision after my injury. Once I was able to bounce back, right in time for the shootout. By the way, matter of fact, I will make a confession that I did not tell many people. I was not supposed to play in December. There was I was bouncing back, of course, and I was looking good. Like I was able to jog around, move around, cut. Kyron Ace, Tyrone Bradley, and Harrison asked me to play in this Word Church tournament when I was in college for money. I had no idea at the time it was for money, and I had no idea at the time that it was going to be against the NCAA rules to be playing for money. You know, so
Yeah.
um, I ultimately went to that tournament and we played. We didn't win it, but we did pretty good. We actually I think we won 3 games, and then the Seattle team came and beat us. But it was a midnight tournament. I think that game was like 3 in the morning, and we just was not prepared for the competition at 3 a.m. Like
Yeah,
I
staying
remember,
up that late and being sharp.
oh my goodness! But it was the best experience I've ever had in Ohio. I felt like that changed the whole narrative about my basketball experience. It's like they actually have midnight tournaments. This is like my first year of playing college basketball, and I'm just recovering. I ain't even really supposed to be out here, and we're playing I'm playing in December in a midnight tournament. I would never forget that, and people who are watching, they will never forget that. Like people know about the Word Church tournament for I think at the time it was $5 grand. Now they upped it to like 10 grand. It was a really big tournament in Cleveland, and at the time I had no idea. But in December, I felt good, and I think by January I was practicing with the team. And but Coach Hunt was like, "Listen, this is 2-3 months of season already started. You're not coming back. I want you next year." But after he took that money from me, I was my mind was made up. I think I was done. So you know, ultimately we were doing housing for next season, and my roommate Riley Thomas, he was like, "Well, are you rooming together again?" And I'm like, "I'm not sure." And I think he thought that I didn't want to room with him. More than likely, I didn't know if I wanted to be here, you know. So I
Yeah.
finally manned up and just went to him and was like, "Listen, I don't see myself being here next year." I told him how I felt about it. I was like, I didn't like the fact that you went up, you know, behind my back and just took my scholarship from me, like basically my scholarship. I had to go out and make a loan. You know, my mom had to take out a Parent Plus loan. You know, I didn't want her to do that.
Yeah.
And that made my decision. You know, he made that made my decision to no longer be Lake Erie Storm. So, you know, as devastated as he was, he actually did help me. He gave me a couple junior colleges in North Carolina to look at because I told him, he's like, well, where do you want to go? And I said, I want to go back home to Greensboro, North Carolina. I want to go play there. So he looked at some schools for me, maybe two or three schools for me, called them and told them that I'll be back in June and I'll be able to, you know, available for tryouts or, you know, whatever they want to do. But after that, that was it. I haven't heard from Coach Hunt ever since. You know,
Yeah,
that was it.
let's talk about the JUCO time. The tryouts, the vast differences in not only gym but area, program. You're going to North Carolina. You want to be close to your grandmother who lives out there, and your mother's living out there at that time too.
She was.
So you want to get close out there, and you told me some good stories about the differences in tryout environment. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, of course, this is my first time playing basketball in North Carolina at all. So this was a whole nother experience. Weather-wise, it's mostly hot, more than, you know, anywhere I've been to. Most, I was bred in Lakeside, so air conditioned gym. You know, these schools in that real air conditioned gym is usually cold or it's like neutral. You know, it was never
weather.
hot. Yeah, it was never hot. So that was new. And the thing is, even playing in the shootout for that long, it was still new. As a matter of fact, going to JUCO was like leading right after it was right after the shootout. So I wasn't completely adapted to the weather. And playing outside is totally different from playing inside, of course. And also playing inside hot is way different from playing outside hot. I don't know if people know that or not, but that's the truth. So when my first JUCO I went to was Lewisburg College in North Carolina, and we were going there, and I can tell like the city. This is when I started learning about more cities in North Carolina. You know, I've been here for 10 years, and you know, those areas were different. You know, some areas is like really bad, some areas is good, and some areas is real sedity. So I had to like adjust. And going to Lewisburg, it looked like very ghetto, and I was just like, man, this looks worse than Ashtabula. To be honest with you, like it was bad. So, but when I got there, there's a really nice campus, really small, and the gym was very hot. So I was basically almost in my drawers trying to work out, trying to work out. I remember my stepdad being there. He's like, man, this is your time, this is your chance, and I'm like, I don't know if I can breathe in here. I'm gonna be honest with you, like, so like knowing what I could have done for that coach, I didn't give him my all. I'm gonna be honest with you. So not only did I didn't get a call back, it's like he didn't even look my way after that. He was just like, yeah, like, and I'm not gonna say I went up there and stunk it up. I just think I was just too tired to be able to perform everything. You know what I'm saying? So from the workouts that we did leading up to scrimmaging, I didn't give them nothing but scrimmage time. I was like, I'm beat. I'm just at this point, I'm just ready for it to end. So that was one workout I did. Another workout was really good. I just think that this one was Wake Tech. This is in I think it's Wake Forest, North Carolina. I'm not too sure. I don't want to mess up for the North Carolina people, but Wake Tech was another JUCO that I tried out at. This one I went on my own. Really good tryout. I told my mom, I was like, I really have high hopes. But then I got a call from the coach, and he was like, yeah, I think I really want you. I just want you to understand, like, your first year it's gonna be hard for you to really see the court because I got my guys already, for the season. I got my guys. I got 8, 9 sophomores that are going to these big schools, and I'm just like, wow, like he didn't even like.
Yeah,
I mean, he basically was like, I want you, but right now you probably not gonna play as much. So I'm just like, so am I gonna waste another year of basketball? Like, do I really want to do that? And that became a real concern to me. It's like, what are these JUCOs really up to? Are they really gonna do this when I'm trying out and I'm giving them my all? And it's like, for what? The politics of the game is that we have our guys, and at this point I was just looking for one or two more, just to fill the roster, and I'm just like, so
and
what did I
that's
come
not
out here
what
for?
you're looking to go play, not
Right.
to fill up a roster.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, it wasn't even a tour, and I felt like that campus was really nice, and I didn't get a tour. I just went right to the gym, worked out, scrimmage, and went home. And it looked like more of like, we not for sure gonna give you any scholarship. We just wanted to see, like, if you were worth our time. And I felt like that was a waste of time going to that JUCO. I did get a couple more looks, they just off of what my word, because you remember I didn't play my first year in the Lakeside. I mean, for Lakeside, Lake Erie, and then I had no film for Lakeside. So
so you're already up against it. You got 2 strikes.
The odds were against me at all times, and I felt like that was the hardest thing for me to do. My mom wasn't really calling. She's like, "You a grown man. You can do this yourself. You can call." And of course, like, as a player, I want to call. I want to make the calls and I want to do this. But see, when I wasn't allowed to, I was dependent on this person to depend on that person. So I was like really banking on Coach Hunt to put me in the right place for basketball. And he dropped the ball. I'm gonna be honest with you. He did. He didn't really care once I left, and I don't think most coaches would care if I leave your school. And
exactly.
So let's just be honest here. He didn't really care where I went. So
you end up going to South Carolina, University of South Carolina, Salkehatchie. Yeah.
Salkehatchie, yeah.
Salkehatchie. All right.
I called that Coach Garrett, and he was like excited. He's like, "Yeah, come on down." Like, this was an interesting workout that he told me. He was like, "Yeah, I'm only gonna have like 15 guys here, and you're more than welcome. Where you coming from?" I told him Greensboro. He's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be 4 hours." Back then he was like, didn't have still ain't have like iPhones and stuff like that at the time. So he's like, just pull up the directions on MapQuest and come on through.
Get you a stack of paper like this.
I printed out that stuff, and then me and my stepdad went 4 hours down to Walterboro. So me and my stepdad, we went on down there, and once I got there, it was a long drive. And once I got there, it was about 30 guys there. And the coach was like, "Yeah, I didn't expect these many people, but I believe in you. You're tall. You show me what you got. Like, just go out there and kill them." And he was like real blunt. He was real blunt, down to earth coach, and the black coach at the time. So this is my first black coach that I was dealing with. And he's played the game, so he knows exactly what to expect. And my stepdad was proud of me that day, because he was just like, "Man, like, you really went out there and showed them. You dunked on a couple people. You shoot the three. You showed every bit of your game that you were supposed to show." And see, that was like the same type of workout I did at Wake Tech, but he wasn't there. So ultimately, I got a couple calls from Coach. He's like, "Man, listen, I got D1s always ready. You just got to play here for a couple of years." And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So I signed to go play for Salkehatchie Indians, and I was out there. My parents was coming to every game, every home game, 4-hour drive. They don't care, they're coming. So I had the moral support. I had the film, and thank God, I had college looks. To be honest with you, a lot of people didn't know about the D1 looks that I actually had, but I made a decision to play for a school that was going to play me. And I didn't care about the D1 anymore, to be honest with you. I think I was around the team long enough. I had some good advice with the team. A lot of the players that were going to Coastal Carolina or North Carolina State or South Carolina State, or I had those looks, to be honest with you, in a matter of a year of a season. But they were like, "Well, can you play another year at Salkehatchie before you come?" And I'm just like really considering it. Like, do I want to deal with that, playing here again? or do I want to go to a smaller school and just play 3 years? I had some really good looks. Coastal Carolina was interested in me. They're D1. Eastern Kentucky was big. They were like really interested in me at the time. And South Carolina State was interested in most of our team, to be honest with you. And they're D1. They were interested in most of us, but you have to make a decision of who you're really gonna take, not just just being interested. But there was this one team that that caught my eye. He's like, yeah, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, black college, Johnson C. Smith, and I had no idea of this team. I didn't know who they were. I'm just like, I don't know. Let me think about it. He's like, I'll give you better. How about we pay you to come on out here. So they paid for me to come on out there. I did a nice visit. The campus was great, and they worked me out by myself with the coaches, all three of the coaches. And he was like, "Are you in?" My coaches. Coach Jordan was a mug, man. He was. He actually ended up being more of a father figure than I ever had. So he gets the biggest credit in this interview. At the end of the day, he's like, "Are you in shape? You in shape? Are you think you're ready to play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good, man." Like he after he just seen a good workout of me. He's like, "Are you in shape? Are
He
you
starts
ready?"
getting on you already.
Right, yeah. And I'm like looking at him like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready." Like I don't know. Maybe he was just like concerned or just asking me questions. He's a psych major. So of course, like he's like picking in my brain a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit
he's
just to see,
checking you.
like, yeah, he's ready to see like what's gonna like. Do you have what it takes to really play this at this level? And he's seen the potential. He's like, I'm gonna come up and watch you play. I want to see for myself. And that one game I played, the team just was like, "Yo, you got Josh C. Smith here. You about to go. You got to show out. You got to. There's no other school here right now. You got to show out. Home game. My mom's there. All the coaches are there from Josh C. Smith, and he's seen me try to go at this 7-footer. I tried to dunk on him 3 times. I missed every time. I tried to go at him, but when the game was over, I think I finished with 15 points. I didn't have a lot, but he was like, "You know what? I made a mistake even asking you if you were ready. I know you're ready." And I was just like, I was like, man, I really, really wish I would have dunked on that 7-footer. Like I kept thinking about it the whole time. He's like, "Hell, I ain't worried about that. I know you're gonna do it next year. You come play for us, you will." And like
He said, "We're
so
gonna get you there."
right, we gonna get you there. You're gonna be dunking on 7-footers in no time. So I was just like, oh man. So the last thing I needed to really draw me into John C. Smith was the game. I went to this game. The game was sold out. There was people standing. Like they brought me to probably the biggest rival game between Winston-Salem State and John C. Smith. That game was enough for me to draw me in to sign with them. Full scholarship for 3 years. So I was excited with my decision. I knew that this was going to be different. Every year I've been to another team, and I was getting a lot of backlash about my move and transferring here, transferring there. But I was making a decision for me. It wasn't for nobody else. It was for me. And when I was in Charlotte, I realized like I'm only an hour away from my family. Now they don't have to drive 4 hours to see me play. So at this point in time, my mind was, all right, well, I just want to play basketball, and I'm still gonna be professional from this school. So that was on my mind from that point in. And my coach always stressed professional. Like, you're gonna be professional. You gotta act professional. That's on the court, off the court. So he really molded us to become professional more than anything else. If you were a role player, you're a role player, but you're also a professional role player. And if you're All-American, you're All-American. But guess what? You're a professional All-American. You are not going to be out in the streets and you're going to call yourself an American. It's just not going to work like that, All-American. So I'm so happy that I chose Johnson C. Smith. I really am. Like, I could have been in another situation and things would have not have worked out in my favor. But from the moment I touched at Johnson C. Smith, I was a player, like somebody worth my time, So I definitely don't regret any of the moves I made in college.
So like you were just saying, you go to Johnson C. Smith, which number one, historically black college.
Hmm.
So they've got a very, from what my understanding, obviously I didn't go to no historically black college, but the traditions in historically black college are just
Hmm.
so rich and ingrained, and there is a much more established sense of community. So I can see where you would go to I got to watch Grambling play at the Cleveland Browns Stadium one time. And it's live, it's different. It's a
Hmm.
whole
Yeah.
different experience. So but not only that, one of the things that I think you should be most proud of, and what everybody should be most proud of, is you finished Johnson C. Smith with a bachelor's degree
Hmm.
in sports management, as well as a minor in facility management. And
Hmm.
getting a college degree is so important. And I think every athlete wants to go play basketball, but the biggest thing I think people need to realize is the making sure you're getting something out of basketball.
Hmm.
You're giving your
Hmm.
all to basketball. Make sure basketball is giving something back. So, congratulations on getting that too. That's
Yeah.
a really big accomplishment, not only for you as, an African-American, Puerto Rican athlete, but you're from Ashtabula too. So
Hmm.
degrees are far and in between here.
Hmm.
That is changing, and that's a great thing. But from
Hmm.
the time of when I was young, you're young, not very common. So,
Hmm.
kudos to you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And then also, Johnson C. Smith, you start putting some stats out there. You start to make a name for yourself on the court again,
Hmm.
where you are a all conference player in 2013 and 2014.
Hmm.
2014, you end up being a special mention for an All American.
Hmm.
Um, you have about 1,200 points just that year. And
Hmm.
I believe you said you're playing in the same conference where Ben Wallace came out of?
Yeah, Ben Wallace actually, the CIAA is really big um, in the state of North Carolina. Like they know about the D2, D1, Duke, UNC. They all know about CIAA apparently because we play on the Charlotte Hornets stadium.
Mm-hmm.
CIAA has been big for a long time, for years, and that CIAA tournament really brings out like a lot of celebrities, black celebrities. We always get that star power parties when it comes to the games. I remember the year that we lost, my junior year, we lost. Kevin Hart came to the championship game, and I was so upset that he didn't get to see me play. You don't understand the stars that came and watched. We played against Bowie State one year, and Trinidad James was there. This is when Trinidad James was hot,
Mm-hmm.
and that really like opened my eyes. Like, man, if we make it to a Saturday night, we can be playing against whoever, but and have so many people watching. Plus, it was on ESPN too. So like, there's more motivation. What motivation do you need than trying to get to the championship game? CIAA was big, and Ben Wallace played in Virginia Union. And they had two teams out there, Virginia State, Virginia Union, two big schools in the CIAA. And those were tough teams. And it's amazing how Ben Wallace was able to come from the CIAA and play in the NBA. Like that was amazing. So that was enough for me to be like, okay, I can do it too. I can do
Yeah, if he
that. And
can, I can. Yeah.
right, exactly. Like he can do it, I can. Me and him, he's about 6'7", I believe, playing my position. So I did play center and power forward in college, but I think my coach was into the small ball, so he didn't try to. We had a 6'8" center that was coming to get me, so it wasn't like he was worried about the size. We had a 6'7" 3-man that played also 3-4. Antoine Wilkerson, he played the 3 and the 4 in college, so he wasn't worried about the size of the center. He just liked the fact that I played in the paint well. One year I averaged 72, 73%, number one in the country in field goal percentage because I played well in the paint. And that was my junior year. Like I didn't really shoot many threes. I didn't shoot jump shots well. I just played in the paint well. And I think that was enough for him to be like, you are a paint man, you're a paint beast. You need to be in the paint. Like
Get your butt on the block.
right. That's all. And my teammates, they will tell you like, get in the block. They cannot stop you in the block. like, okay, like whatever, whatever I gotta do, I do it. Like if you go back and look, like, my highlights, most of it is in the paint. Most of it is paint, and I'm 6'6" at the time. I'm playing against 6'8". I'm playing against 6'9". Those guys were bigger linemen. They actually got to the part where coaches were sticking linemen on me, like big linemen. I'm not even kidding, like just to muscle me around. And I knew the type of level I was going to be playing against in CIAA. No, not much different from D1, to be honest with you, except for D1 got people my size that play guard.
Yeah.
That's the big difference of D1. But the talent, no, I don't see the big difference. And from CIAA to D1, no, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's just
really good.
A different type of player, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you graduate from Johnson C. Smith with your degree, and now you are on to you're going to be an international professional basketball player, which is huge. You know what I mean? I don't think people understand. I don't think a lot of people even knew that's a route you can take and still be a professional basketball player.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to kind of ask you, like, where's the first place you played? Where's the first place you play as an international?
I will tell you this, that the summer was really like a big thing for me. Like, I did get my first contract I signed was in Iraq. I was excited because it was like really good money. A lot of people did not want me to go. And of course, the media trained reasons why not to be in Iraq. And but there's basketball, there's good basketball out there. So I had my first contract was in Iraq, and I was excited because it was a deal overseas, So
yeah, you're officially a professional basketball player at this point.
Right. But ultimately, I did not go. My mom, my grandmother, they did not see my first year starting off well in Iraq, and I just thought otherwise. I felt like they prayed for me not to go. And it was crazy because I had a party, like a going away party. The same day I had a going away party, I got a notification from my agent telling me that they no longer want me anymore. And I'm like, well, I signed a contract, like it's a sealed contract. Well, it's a part of the contract says that they can void the contract within 30 days before the season starts. So I had no idea of this. And that really like messed me up bad. Like I was just like, okay, well, all these other teams that were asking about me.
Yeah, now I gotta go back.
Now I had to go back to square one. And that really like messed me up because it was right before training camp starts. So when teams have their in overseas basketball, teams pick their players months ahead of time. They do not make no decisions where to pick up a player last minute right before training camp unless they absolutely have to, or somebody just like decides to not come, or they just decide not to want them. So I was really shocked with the Iraq thing. But my mom, once I went back to it, my mom was like, "Thank God you're not going. I just did not think it was going to be safe for you." My grandma felt the same way. So ultimately, I feel like that decision was made from my mom and my grandparents. They did not want me to go. And so I didn't go. I think I was home for 5 months, 6 months after that before I got my first job in El Salvador. El Salvador was the first place that had no idea about the competition, had no idea about the setting. I had no idea about what I was expecting. All I cared about was playing my first professional basketball game. So when I got the job, my agent was like, listen, I need my money up front. Like he was like really consistent with it. And I'm just like, okay, well, I can give you the money when I get my first check because I don't have it right now. And most agents do not do that to you. They don't. And I think I was dealing with a guy, like a middleman guy. He was just basically like paying his company or whatever the situation is. I don't know it fully, so I'm not going to say that, how he did it. He did his way, but he needed his money up front. And after my first check, I gave it to him. I was like, all right, good. Now we're square. So boom. Now El Salvador was a whole nother experience. I'm talking shootout games outside. Okay. So this is 12-minute, 10-minute quarters of games that I played basically 40 minutes a game. So when I tell you I was in the best shape of my life, I was in the best shape of my life because our home gym was particularly inside because it was like surrounded by a dome, but there was these big pillars that covered up most of the dome, but it's also outside. So it's like we were inside of a facility but with outside weather, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So it was really hot. This is the hottest country I've ever been to. At the most, the degrees Fahrenheit was 119 degrees in El Salvador.
Oh my God. No.
I remember playing one game outside against the Lobos, and Lobos were completely outside. I mean, concrete outside, and it was 4 o'clock game. It was like maybe 98 degrees outside, heat. I could not bear like this season was really. It's like I was excited to be there, but also I was just like, man, most of our games are outside. Like, why are we playing outside so much? So I knew that league was not as big as the league as it should have been because the big leagues they don't play outside. You know, they care enough of their players to play
Yeah,
inside.
they at
You know,
least gonna get you into a local Y.
at least something like that. And they had the access, but these countries, some of these countries, they pride on keeping their tradition alive. If that
Mhm.
makes sense. So if 20 years ago they played outside and they feel like there's no haven't had any injury, haven't had any problem with the Americans playing outside, they're going to play outside. And don't get me wrong, like Cojute, our gym, the Caneros, they all played inside gyms. So it was about 12, 13 teams out there, and at least 7 played outside. San Miguel played outside. So Brujos played outside. Brujos was actually the champion that year, and they played outside. So outside that was their thing, and I just couldn't. It was hard to adapt. But the crazy thing about it is, I averaged 25 points a game and 12 rebounds that year, just enough for me to get to my next, just for me to get to my next destination. And the good thing about El Salvador is that we actually had up to 3 Americans and then like a foreigner. So it was just like 3 American players, like me, Jarrell, and Cuckoo, call him Cuckoo. And then you got Colorado. He was actually a El Salvador Canadian player. So he was like actually like naturalized player for El Salvador. So he was able to play as an American, but you know he was still naturalized as a Spanish person. He spoke very fluent Spanish at the time too. So we actually had 4 American players basically, if you want to or what have you. So we was actually decent at the time.
So one of the things I would like to know, and I think a lot of the viewers too, that first year as an international player, with FIBA and everything is different. Like you
Mm-hmm.
are by definition a small town guy because this is a
Mm-hmm.
small town. Even
Mm-hmm.
even North Carolina is small town. You know what I mean?
Right.
What are some things, sacrifices other than playing in the heat, of living? What are some of the sacrifices that people who might want to go international playing basketball, that they need to understand this? Like, there are some differences in the way you live. What are some of
Right.
those?
Okay. So every country is different. That's what I will say. I've had countries where I had to live with all the Americans. I had situations where we didn't eat as well as we would at home. I've had situations where we didn't have TV or internet. So um, situations you have to kind of come into a situation knowing the risk that you take being outside of the U.S. U.S. is we are very spoiled. We get a lot of stuff that a lot of countries do not have. For example, we have really good Wi-Fi, and it took us a while to get Wi-Fi, like to have Wi-Fi. And once we got it, we perfected it. We made it a necessity for life now. We can't do this interview well without Wi-Fi. So um, Wi-Fi was a big thing for me because I play online. I'm a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of time on our hands. We work out. So I say I give my life to basketball throughout at an average maybe 4 to 5 hours a day. I say only that because we have practice, which is for 2 hours. We have the workout, which is complete possibly an hour, depending on the situation, who you play for. Swimming might be a workout. Lifting might be a workout. Running might be a workout. So I say about 4 hours of the day. 4 hours of the day is dedicated to basketball. The rest is up to you. So if we're in the house, in a room together, we have to have the necessities, Wi-Fi, TV, whatever. We had one in El Salvador. We had one TV. It's four of us. One TV, one video game. My game at that. So I was my Xbox with one TV. We had to share. So when I tell you that the 3 months I spent in El Salvador, I spent it not playing online. I also spent it not having my own room to enjoy, basically, like my own space. It's like we had a room, but also like we had a guy in the living room. He actually slept there. Then we had another guy with a roommate, which was those two. You know what I'm saying? So it really changed the aspect of, okay, now is basketball going to be like this, where I have to just be roomed in with all these Americans, and we have to share this one TV, and Wi-Fi's not that great. Like, it was good for our phones, but it wasn't good to like watch movies or play the video game. So the living was different. I tell you that. Like, it was a whole humble experience for me, and it was like, I'm hoping that my next job, I can have my own space to myself when I'm done giving my all for this team. Can they put me in a position where I'm comfortable? And I didn't feel as comfortable in El Salvador because I just didn't have my own space. It was like I wake up and to the guys that I work with every day. You know,
So it's
that
similar to,
became,
like, there's like levels, and you started like at level 1, and you're, rather than piss and moan and decide you're not going to do it, you were like, you know
mm-hmm,
what, I'm going to just really, really play hard here. That way
mm-hmm,
my next job turns out to be a little bit better, and you're moving up through
right,
the ranks to where
right.
you are now, where you take jobs that are going to be beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is my fourth year. So at this point, my agent knows what to expect out of me. I do have a new agent now, but my agent, he expects a lot out of the team and me. So it's a lot of pressure on me. And most agents, they know, like, if you don't perform well, I can't get you another job, because they're gonna say, well, why this guy get kicked out of this team, or why this guy had to leave this team, and they're gonna answer it like, well, he quit or he got kicked off the team. So they're gonna be like, well, why we want him? Why would we want that? Why would we want a guy that is not able to perform on a level outside and on the court? So my main perspective as a professional is to just suck it up, whatever the living arrangements are. But I know my necessities. If my contract says TV, if it says Wi-Fi, if it says 3 meals a day, I'm expecting that. And if I
Yeah.
don't have that, then we got a problem. They never told me that I would have my own space. So my contract, they never said I would have my own whatever. It was just TV, Wi-Fi, living arrangements. Sometimes they throw that living arrangements in there without you knowing what exactly you're up against. And there's some teams that would just be like, "Don't worry, we got you," But some teams would be like, "You're going to stay in the house with the whole team," and and that's what I was dealing with in Indonesia. Indonesia was a house. Well, my first season I was in a hotel in Indonesia. My second season I was in a house with the whole team. Like, the Americans were upstairs. It was three of us, and then 8, 9 of them were downstairs. It was crazy. So it's just every living arrangement is different. In Argentina, I was in a hotel with right across from my roommate, which is the other American, Terrell. So it was every country, they just do things differently, and they know within the tradition of their club that, okay, well, we're going to put our Americans in a hotel. We're going to give them a ride. We're going to make sure they're good. But some other clubs are like, we'll give you a car. You just got to use your money to put gas in it. So and every country I've been to has a different living arrangement, and I'm very humble about the experience. I was in a resort, I was in a hotel, I was in a house, I was in an apartment. I've been in very good situations, good hotel, 5-star hotels, but I've also been in bad situations. I've been in above a dentist office, a dentist office right above them. We had our little cot in there, and 2 rooms, and 4
That's
Americans,
crazy.
and then you got the living room. You ain't got the living room. This is his room. Like, all his stuff is in that room. So it's like, if he don't clean up, we can't. I'm not coming in there. Like, let him get his stuff together so I can watch TV. So it's crazy,
um,
man.
one of the places I'm very interested about is Puerto Rico. So you play basketball in Puerto Rico, and anybody watching this, the Last Dance has already been out. So Puerto Rico's high on everybody's list now because Phil Jackson, coached there. I didn't know that myself, and my
Right,
dad's Puerto Rican, and I've been a heralder of Puerto Rican basketball. So let's talk
right.
about Puerto Rican basketball.
Okay, so my first season in Indonesia, I got the word from a guy. His name was Kurt Withers. He plays in Charlotte, and he actually has been a pro for about, I say, about 12, 13 years, maybe more. I don't know if he's going to see it or not, but about 13 years. And he's been giving me some really good advice, for pro basketball. And he's just like, listen, man, like, these other countries, man, if you are any race, anything outside of the Hispanic, if you're Spanish, if you're Guatemala, whatever the case may be, you need to be trying to like play out there. And I was like, why? Like, why would I want to do that? He's like, bro, like you can be a local player and not an American player. And I didn't realize the rarity of it. The fact of the matter is that if I am Indonesian and part black, I can play for the team without being, and then also they can still bring their two Americans in. So that gives you an advantage, being
You
a
can stack
naturalized
up the
player,
talent.
basically. So if when I found out I was eligible for the draft of Puerto Rico, I was in Indonesia at the time. So I told my agent, and he was like, "Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know nothing about Puerto Rico." So I knew that point on I needed a new agent. So I reached out to this hoop agent online thing, reached out to the Puerto Rican agents, and that had the connections, of course. And I reached out to this one guy, and he's like, "Well, listen, you're going to need a birth certificate for you, your dad, and your grandmother that is on the Puerto Rican side. All I needed was that to prove enough proof that you are Puerto Rican, of course, and your grandmother is, and your dad is." So um, ultimately, that had been the hardest thing ever to do because I haven't been talking to my dad for years, and trying to get something from him would have been like, oh my god. So I had to beg my brothers. I had to beg my aunt, which is his sister. Um, my grandmother had passed, in time, so we had to figure out how to get this. This would took me so long. Almost it took me a year to get it. So um, I'm working hard at this point, try to get it. I was already told about this over the summer. So it took me a year to finally fully get all the documents, and it should never take me that long to get birth certificates, but I did. So once I did that, I was able to establish my name. My grandmother was raised in Isabella, Puerto Rico, and just enough for me to become, eligible in the draft. I actually got drafted sixth, first round, sixth pick to play for Ponce, Puerto Rico, and of course I'm excited because they picked 30 players that year, and I was a top pick, and I
Yeah,
was
you was
excited.
just top
Yeah,
10 pick. Yeah.
yeah, I was excited, and they're going off of what I did to Indonesia, but Puerto Rico is a politic country, and they're also big on their seasoned players, guys who've played for 10 years or more, or 5 years or more, and they took pride in not letting, not letting the new players shine. Like, so my first year I didn't play at all, to be honest with you. And I wasn't alone. It was like maybe three guys that got drafted to Puerto Rico, the Ponce, Puerto Rico, played for them, and then two other guys that were there that had already been there. They haven't been playing, so it was also just like a really big politic game, like wait your turn type game. They didn't care about our talent at the time. I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to be dealing with this. Like, I have to find a way to overcome this. Puerto Rico is a really good place to play, really good place to live. I mean, they took care of us on a level that I didn't expect. I was just like, okay, we have our own car. We can go wherever we want to go, as long as we end up in practice and these games on time. I felt like a true professional at this point. We can maneuver around Puerto Rico any way we want. Gas, of course, we got to pay for our own gas, but we had a little Wi-Fi. Puerto Rico's part of the state, so Wi-Fi is easy to come by. We had our own little AT&T hotspot, and we can use it everywhere, and it's unlimited. So that's where I play my video game. That's where I was on my phone. I mean, I kid you not, I enjoy the experience in Puerto Rico. The basketball is amazing. Thousands of fans. I'm talking 10,000 fans at these games. Rivalry games sold out. I mean, it's so loud in there you can't even think. That's why I knew this was the place for me to play basketball. And I could not play that 1 year, and it devastated me. It devastated me. It changed my whole demeanor. Like, am I ready for the NBA? Am I ready for this? Am I ready for that? Or is it just a politic game for me? You know what I'm saying? So I went on and got these shots in my knee to help to regenerate the medicine, the tissue in my knee. And the media went crazy. They was like, well, this guy is not ready to play anyway. If he was, I was like, Jesus, like, I'm just a rookie. Like, I didn't even
Yeah.
know it was going to get to that. But the doctor was just like, like, you're going to be out for like 2 weeks. I was still practicing at the time, but then I got put on the inactive list. So at the games, I was dressed just wearing regular clothes, and they were like, "Well, why is he not just suited up?" But we were actually overcapacitated with players because at the time they only had 8 teams. Now they have 10. So a lot of the players that were playing for Puerto Rico, I mean Ponce or whatever, they either the other teams have rights to them, or they got traded or they signed for another team. So it works just like the NBA. You trade, you sign. You can trade me, you can sign me, you can release me. So ultimately, I just asked to be released because I did not like the situation that was going on. They told me that I would have to wait my turn. So I don't know how long that actually means. I
Right.
don't know if I had to wait for their star player to retire or this guy to retire. So I did not like the situation that Ponce presented to me, which ultimately led me into not really getting a job after Ponce, and I stayed home for about 6 months before Maya West decided to call me. Maya West, Puerto Rico. They called me. I came out there. I did my job, and the coaches, they liked me as a player. They liked the group, but we weren't going in the direction we were supposed to go. We weren't winning enough games, so they made this big change. They traded about 7 players from the team. They let me go. They traded about 7 players. They just went on the whole rebuilding stage. Unfortunately, I was not in the rebuilding stage for them. They were just like, we're not happy with none of these
You
players.
guys just went a separate way.
Right. So they just went a whole other direction. So I played there for a month and a half, just enough to get to Venezuela. So I was okay with. I'm not gonna say I was satisfied. I was okay with what I've done for Puerto Rico, that Maya West team. Of course, I wanted to do more from the start of the season to the finish, but I have yet to finally play enough games to be like, you know what, I did my job this year for Puerto Rico, and I still got enough work to do. I still want to go play out there. That was actually ultimately my goal after Indonesia, was to go back to Puerto Rico. I had Guanamo and also another team that just came back into the league, and I was really like excited because they were like, well, you can come out here and work out and we'll see what we can do with you. So I was excited. At the time, it's still the teams are still overcapacitated with players. It's like over 15, 16 players, maybe 20 players practicing, but only 14 suiting up. So Puerto Rico is really overcapacitated with players, and they still having drafts and they're still having signings and all this stuff, and players are not retiring. So it's becoming a more of a issue for the younger guys that are coming in that wants to
Yeah,
play, that want to
it's
play.
crowded. It's a
Yeah.
crowded scene right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you are now the last team you played with is emblazoned on your shirt right now,
Oh yeah.
Indonesia.
Oh
So
yeah.
one of the things you talk about with Indonesia is the support out there,
Oh
and
yeah.
the environment and the atmosphere. And I thought that was
Yeah.
great. So I'd like to hear you talk about that.
Well, the reason why I went back a second year to play in Indonesia is because I was excited with the first season. I played for a different team this year, Amartha Hang Tuah. My first season, I was playing for Bima Perkasa, which was a really good turnout, except for we didn't make playoffs. So they went on their whole another direction, decided to pick up 2 new players the next year, which I was okay with. I was fine with. There's no problem. But of course, I felt like my job wasn't done. I wanted to play there another year. The support system is amazing. They treat us like we're royalty. They love us out there. They can't wait for another season for us to start, basketball up again so they can bring us back out there. Um, I couldn't really walk many places without getting recognition, you know. And me knowing me as a normal person I am, I'm going here, going there, just walking. You know,
Yeah.
walking here, want to try new places. I might get on a rider every now and then, but I never forget this day. This day really changed the way how I was, you know, molded as a person. I walked into the mall to go get some shoes. I looked it up to just to, you know, I was like, okay, I can go get some shoes and a headband or something. I walked in that mall with intentions to leave out of there in like maybe 10, 20 minutes. I was in that mall for an hour and maybe longer than that. Like I walked in there, had my shirt on. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm taller than everybody else out there. So I'm taking pictures with kids. Next thing I know, I'm taking pictures and I'm signing autographs with adults. And then next thing I know, I'm taking pictures and signing autographs with everybody. I mean, everybody was coming up to me. I couldn't even get to the third floor to Foot Locker. Like I just then when I got there, when I finally got up there, kids were following me and stuff. I got my shoes. Actually, you know what? That was not the time I got my shoes. I went to another mall, but this mall I didn't get my shoes. And then the people at Foot Locker wanted to take pictures with me. I was just like, wow. Like I honestly like I was so humble at the time. I felt so welcome. You know, I wasn't there for maybe 4 weeks when I decided to go look for shoes. You know, and I was like, wow, like I've only played like maybe 6, 7 games, and people know who I am. This is when they were like, well, you're on the news a lot, like especially here. Like Georgia doesn't have a lot going on, so they look forward to the season. This is our second season playing in the IBL. So every game, you and Anthony are like on TV,
Yeah,
and I'm
you
like, wow,
you're
like
yeah,
I
you're
didn't know.
yeah, like
So
it's that's but you know what? That's gotta be a nice feeling. Like it's crazy to deal with, but it's like I imagine like it's like, man, the work I'm doing, it like people are getting to see it.
right, it was amazing feeling. I'm be honest with you. So I was like, man, like, and then on top of that, like, if you play well and they have social media, the social media is amazing. They got like 250,000 followers. Puerto Rico only has like 80, 90,000 at best. You know, 250,000 followers on the page. So it's like if you do something well, their recognition is all sky through the roof. You get people who adding you as a friend. You got people who following you on Instagram. You got people following you on Snapchat. They want to know who you are, how you live, what you're doing. I was every season I'm getting like people who are like, "Are you coming back?" or like, "We need you. Barima Picasso needs you." Blah blah. I'm just like, it's just a humble experience. Like, I don't feel like I've done enough to even really get us to a playoff atmosphere to play for championship, and for them to do that to me and Anthony and whoever was there. It feels like you feel like royal. You really do. Like you feel welcome. You feel like you don't want to go home. Like trust me, like it's like you go home and you're regular. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But
yeah.
international,
You
like
go, you go from a king to a regular person very quickly. But I think it's probably nice to actually have those options where if you go there right now, if you're walking, they still know who you are. And around here, you're Emilio Parks, the basketball star there. Here you are Emilio Parks, the friend.
well, yeah, you can say that. I get recognition, you know, for what I do, but this 2020, a lot of people don't really. At this point, they're not easily moved by you being a basketball player anymore. You're just like, okay, you know, you play basketball, so what? I work, you know, like at this point. But I don't. I keep my eggs in a basket with that one. I don't like to gloat about it. I'm happy doing what I do best, and being able to be blessed enough to continue to play, and then put myself in a good position to even go back out there after the adversity that I've been dealing with last year, leading up to this year. I'm just happy I was able to get back on the court and actually play. And now I see myself really playing this whole year until the coronavirus hit, of course. So, but I had goals to make sure I go back to Puerto Rico. If not Puerto Rico, then Mexico. If not Mexico, then Venezuela. So I had some options there for me after Indonesia. So it wasn't like I was done. You know, I'm really, really trying to, get out there so I can be gone for a while playing basketball. So I have something, on my plate when I get home.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go right into in your entire international career, what is your favorite place that you've ever played, and why?
Okay, so when I finished Argentina, I went to Luxembourg. It's in Europe. It's a really small country. A lot of people don't know about Luxembourg. It's very small. It's like surrounded by France, surrounded by Germany, surrounded by Belgium, and they are one of the richest countries in Europe. Actually, if not the richest country in Europe. When I first got there, I got picked up in a BMW. So I was just like, this dude, like, so I've been playing for 3 teams now. This is, including Luxembourg team. So I was like, oh, these guys, they must have a little bit of money. So I didn't know anything about Luxembourg at the time. He's taking me to where I was staying. At the time, I had a roommate, but the place was so big, I didn't really care, about the roommate. It was like the little condo I was in. It looked like an apartment complex, but it was more like a condo complex. It was like condo everywhere, and it was very, very nice. Like, I enjoyed my living. I had a nice tub to get in every night. The internet was great. Had my own space, and then the guy actually had to leave because you couldn't have three Americans on the team, so I kind of came to replace him, and I played from January till May, which is probably my longest time I've been gone playing basketball. The second closest was Indonesia, right before Puerto Rico, but I was gone from early January till late May, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Like, we had our own car, even though it was driving a stick. We drove our own car. I can't drive a stick to save my life, to be honest with you. Like,
Me
if I
neither.
was running from the police, I could not drive that car. So it's just it's over. So, like, I tried my hardest to drive that car, but ultimately, like, if Phil wanted to go anywhere, I'm just like, listen, I gotta go. I gotta go with you. So let's go. He learned it. He caught on to it quick. And I'm like, how in the world did you get that? And I can't, like, keep my left and right foot I can't keep my left foot on the clutch. Either it's on the clutch or it's off. I can't, like, keep it on and take it off and keep it. I cannot do that. It's just way too much. So too much complexity for me to drive a stick. Maybe I need some more practice, but we had our own car and people knew who we were because the doggone car was tatted up with decals of the team name. I'm just like, oh my god, you ain't got. Every time we go to a Nike store or go to the grocery store, and now you're looking at this car like, oh, look at this little car, team car. Like, now they knew who we were at that point. We didn't get a lot of gear there, but I liked the basketball there. I really did, and I think the Europe made me more tougher. They really was hard nosed. Those guys work hard every day. They work harder than Americans do. They do things that we don't do.
Yeah.
Running upstairs and bleachers and stuff every day. Most people don't do that. That's Michael Jordan stuff. That's stuff that you trying to mold a GOAT, and they were trying to get those guys to stay on top at all times. And, like, Americans, y'all can stay home and come back for 12 o'clock workouts, and then we got practice at 7. Those guys are up in the morning working out. Then they have the 12 o'clock session. Then they got practice. So those guys in Europe, they work hard. They work really hard, and then they train to, like, beat us up in the games. So it's like, there's not one game where I felt like I had to be ready for a soft matchup. Like, I'm going up against
Every
big
day
guys.
you was going at it.
And I felt like leading up to that finishing the Luxembourg season, I walked out of there with my head held high. The situation was not great for me. They weren't winning any games before I got there, and then we finished with 6. So I felt like it was something. It was something. 36 games, we went 6-30. I wasn't there for the 18. I wasn't there for the 18 games. So it was hard. It was hard to even experience the pressure. I had a black coach at the time. He's actually still there. And there was a lot of pressure on him and more pressure on me because he was like, well, I'm bringing you in. You're not 6'8". You're not 6'9". I need you to be like Barkley. I need you to be like Barkley. And I took the initiative. I was like, I'm going to do whatever you need me to do, and I did my job every game. I think I averaged 23 points a game that season. I didn't average a lot. I think I averaged like 7 rebounds. But it was enough to get me to Indonesia. So that's all I cared about at the time.
Yep. So on the opposite realm of that is, where was the least pleasurable experience, I guess, your least favorite place to play?
Yeah,
You
people
can go as far as wide as you want to.
people gonna be mad at me about this because I had just recently played there. I was in Venezuela, and I'm not gonna say like Venezuela was just terrible, completely terrible, but it really made me miss home in the matter of a week of being there. And and I hate to say that, but Venezuela was already like had this like bad issues with the economy. They also did not have you know really good tourist aspects. Like you don't just go to Venezuela,
Just to
So
go, right?
yeah, just to go. Like I want to go to Venezuela, so you want to go to South America, but you don't want to go to Venezuela. So going there, I already knew the situation. This is a new team that is joining the top league, and new coach, new owner, excuse me, and I knew the stakes. The stakes were high. I also knew who was coming in at the time. And crazy thing is, the same guy I played with in Indonesia my first year, Anthony was supposed to join me, and I felt like I was gonna be more comfortable with Anthony being there to actually, make this chemistry smoother for this team. And they ended up not taking him like last minute, just like they dealt with me in Iraq. They wouldn't take me last minute, so they were just like, well, we found somebody else, a Dominican player, so we're not bringing Anthony. I was like, wow, okay. So they didn't realize the gift that me and him actually can produce for this team with the chemistry that we played, with each other before for 18 games. So I felt like they missed out on a lot with that. But ultimately, that team was a really good team. We were a good team, like the best way to say it, like Miami weren't ready to win a championship, but we had all the talent. We just couldn't gel together and get it done. We had a big guy about 6'9", 6'10", Canadian, me. I played the 3, and then we had 2 Dominican Republic players, which were professionals as well. So it's a lot of ball to be shared within us 4, and it was really hard to try to
mesh
balance
all
it
that
out
on the
between.
court.
Yeah, it was hard because everybody's like, I got to go to the next level. I got to get here. I got to get there. I'm trying to have a good year now so I can get to this. And my mindset is like, I just want to play well enough so I can get somewhere else. That's all I care about at the time. So the gelling was the hard part. Also, the living arrangement was really tough, and the food. So everything about Venezuela was a humbling experience. I had to be on a level where I can be patient enough for this to work out for me. When I got there, it was a resort, and it looked really good. It looked really nice. The first couple of nights was great, like the hospitality I was getting, and all the attention I was getting, and then like it just like declined every day. It's like it was just like every day. It's like the longer we've been there, the lesser it's becoming.
The honeymoon phase was fading.
Yeah, the honeymoon phase. You know what I'm saying? Like basically, it's like they show you that attention, and then it's like good, and it's just sloped down every day. Sloped down. It's just like a week came by. I was just like, man, I miss home already. I didn't have Wi-Fi in my room. That's like the biggest. That was like my biggest problem. Not having Wi-Fi. I could not play my video game for 2 months straight. I played it, but I played offline, and it's boring. It's like you cannot enjoy this while I'm paying for Xbox Live. There's no way I'm going to enjoy this. The TV, the one thing that bothered me the most about Venezuela was they had this energy thing where they save energy at night, and they just turn the power off for like 3 hours. And I think like within the city, that's like a city thing because the capital doesn't deal with that. I talked to some of the players out there. They're like, we don't have that problem. That must be a San Juan thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. San Juan turns their power off for almost 3 hours and just cuts back on like it's nothing. And I asked them, like, what is that about? Because we're in a resort and we have generators. Why did they do that? Well, we're working on the generators thing, but, the city saves energy by turning their power off at night. That's the time, around the same time people go to sleep. I understand it to an extent. You know what I'm saying? To an extent. But we are in 2019. Why are y'all still doing that?
Yeah,
that was
that
just
is
like
absolutely insane.
It's
Absolutely
insane.
insane.
It's insane. If you're going to do that, your Americans need to be safe. They need to be comfortable. And I did not feel comfortable with that power going off every day. Could not watch the playoffs every day. I was missing game after game after game. And then like when they finally got the generator would go off like it just cut on and cut off every now and then. So I say about 3 times a day, their generator cuts on and off. And I'm just like, what? So even if I was playing a game or watching something, it would cut on,
Just
it would cut off, and then like for 10, 30 minutes it'd be off until somebody comes and fixes it. And I'm just like, I honestly like could not deal with the fact that wherever I was at, I just couldn't deal with it. The food, now I'm not gonna complain about the food because we were on a diet at the time. But if I want to eat pizza, I should be allowed to eat pizza. You know what I'm saying? Like I should have an option. But we were eating like in a cafe, like a cafeteria as a team. The police was there. When it came down to safety, we was good. The police were following us everywhere. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere without the police most of the time. Like if I go to the store or go to the bar or whatever, the police had to be there. Like they just was making sure we were safe, which is
that's
really
crazy in itself that even
yeah.
needs to be.
The police had to be there, which was like, okay, well, I don't mind that. It was just like, what if I wanted to go do something outside on my own? Like, somebody has to be with me in Venezuela, basically. That's what they were saying. Like, either your translator has to be with you or your teammate has to be with you. But if it's just me and my teammate, somebody else had to be with us. It was, like, ridiculous. So I was just like, okay, well, we don't have no freedom. We were, like, in a resort, which I did not like. I did not like the resort. One week we went without water for about 4 days. And
Yeah, nah, that
you have
ain't
to
it.
remember that we finished playing basketball. We played 2-a-day practices with the chicken and the rice every day. It's either chicken and rice or chicken and beef. I mean, not chicken and beef and rice. And it was just really like tiring. I got exhausted eating. I got to the part where I was just like, you know what? I'll just go eat some chips. I'm not going to dinner because I just could not deal with the fact that we were eating the same thing every day. I cannot eat the same thing every day. It just makes it feels like prison.
Yeah, that's exactly. Listen, that's what it sounds like.
I could not bear it. I feel like we had no freedom. We had no like when we walked somewhere, they questioned everything we did. If we did something without consulting with them, we were actually surrounded by an army base. Their little army base, they protect the city or whatever. It's a resort, and then it's the little army base, and I thought that was kind of weird because like when we walked the practice as a team, they would be right there, and they look at us crazy all the time. I'm just like, this don't even feel good. Like I just is like this was a tough experience for me. Venezuela was, and don't get me wrong, I would probably go back, but I would go back in a like there's no way I'm going back to the same thing. I would have to go to a different team, or my contract has to be like really reevaluated because there's no way I'm
They
gonna
would really
deal
have
with that
to
again.
incentivize it for you.
Yeah. Well, they reached out to me actually this year, and they were like, "Well, do you want to come back?" And they have a new staff, new coach, new owner. It would be completely different, and I had to really think about that. I really did because I was like, that situation was rough. It
Yeah,
was
that's
a rough
wild.
situation. My hair grew on another level. I didn't wash it. I didn't have any soap and conditioner. Black people conditioner and soap that you got to use, to make sure that your hair is conditioned the right way. So I was not just using anything. You know what I'm saying? So that was experience. That was probably the worst experience of basketball I have. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to say basketball was great in Venezuela. Like that was the biggest home stage I ever played in, easily. If you go back and look at the highlights, there was so many people at our games. It was nerve wracking. I
Yeah.
had to like jump myself up into being able to play in front of thousands of people. It was a lot of people there. They had just built the stadium for us. We were practicing on top of a mountain for almost like 3 weeks before we actually was able to get on that stadium. That stadium was just built then, and the first game was free. I think the first 3 games were free. It was so many people there. I mean, like if one of us scored, people were going nuts, and I just it was like gave me like that extra power. It also gave me that extra testosterone to play well, you know. So I made sure at home I played my
Yeah,
ass
you
off. So
showed
I was just
out. You
making
showed
sure,
out.
yeah, I made sure that I did that. So I would never regret that part of the Venezuela. Like playing in front of them fans, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than that.
The next thing I want to kind of ask you is, and this is when we get into the fun questions, I call them. So the best 3 players you played with, locally, collegiately, internationally, 3
Okay.
players.
This was really tough to think about, to be honest with you. Of course, a lot of people wouldn't be surprised, but my first pick over anybody in Nashville would be Ace, and
Ace
Ace is
Boogie.
because Ace Jones, Ace Anthony Jones, my boy, that's my brother, man. We've had our differences in years, but when it comes down to basketball, we get the job done. So Ace was big. We played 2 years together in high school. I really wish it would have been 3. We played in shootouts together. We played in tournaments together. We played in the Hoop It Up in Harvey. I think 1 or 2 in the Harvey Hoop It Up. We won shootouts together. We played together for a minute. Ace was like my go-to, and people used to hate that. Like other players used to hate the fact that me and Ace. If you seen Ace, you seen me. We were playing together, no matter
Twin
what.
Towers.
Like, we were playing together. So a lot of people hated that. Like, well, you know, Ace, if Ace is playing, Emilio playing, you know he's coming. You know it. So we have to like get our teams together. And me and Ace played for after the year that we decided to do the draft. The draft became more of a okay, bring your own team. I talked to Ace thoroughly about this. Ace was in school at the time. He was like, "Yeah, I don't mind. I don't care. Like, you know, but we got to have if it's going to be that way, we got to have my brother." And I'm like, "Well, okay, whatever. You know, the situation, whatever the situation is." But I was okay as long as I was playing with him. I was okay with it. So because we just played well together, and so that's my local favorite. And then the second favorite is Antoine Wilkinson. You don't know him. He actually went to Johnson C. Smith with me. But along with Johnson C. Smith, I played with him for 4 years. I mean, not for 4 years, 2 years playing at Smith. And then right after he graduated, we were playing together over the summer, taking over summer. So, like, at this point, like, we were winning ships and over the summer, the Pro-Am, we won, I think we won one together and went to the finals and another one. And then we won a couple of money tournaments together. So Antoine is easily like my favorite college player to play with because he was just like, with me, he was no different from Ace. Like we gelled together. He passed me the ball, I passed him the ball. He throw me lobs, I throw him lobs. Like it was, and then like we got on each other's tail about everything. So it's like it was never like okay, like he's mad at me today and he's gonna be mad at me tomorrow type stuff. Like we talked about it. We ride together in the car, so it's like we talked about it on the way home. If it was a 45-minute to an hour drive, we was talking about it the whole way, and then laugh about it when we get home. So our bond was on another level. Now the third player I've played with, this was a hard one because to me he's probably one of the most unguardable players I've ever seen. But I only played 1 year with him. But I played a lot of pickup with him. His name is Trevin Parks. He's not my brother, but he's like a brother from another mother, basically. He graduated right after I got there, my sophomore year. He was getting ready to graduate. So, but he was All-American that year, and he was the man at Smith. I was the second man at Smith. Like everybody know, like he was the big man on campus. If Trevin is on the court today, he might give you 30, 40. Like,
wow.
And he is 5'5", 5'6". He might be shorter. I have to ask him, but that man is Kemba Walker, reincarnated, light skin. Like he has the handle, if not quicker than Kemba. He is serious. Like he didn't get enough recognition as he should, but he still plays in really good leagues and overseas. He's played in the D League. He's the man. Like if I'm on his team, I don't have to worry about being number one scorer. That's one thing about Trevin, but he realizes that as a point guard, you have to facilitate more. And I think he was telling me that like more like while he was playing professional, like they're not looking for a point guard scorer that's going to score 25 a game. We need you to do 20 and 10 or 12 assists.
And yeah, light up the stats.
Yeah, light up the stats. We need you to facilitate and score. We can't just have you scoring. You're the point guard. You bring the ball up, so you have to be able to facilitate. You have to get players involved, and I think that's what molded him to be just as much as a killer, as much of a penetrate and kick type of player. So, but that man's so quick, and he has a great shot. Like he really should be playing in the NBA, to be honest with you. But I really feel like his just like Nate Robinson. The reason why Nate Robinson's not in the league, he's way more explosive than Trevin. Dunks on anything he wants, and he just because he's short and undersized for his position, they don't give him enough love. They see the Dame Lillards and they see John Wall and they see Russell Westbrook, and they're like, that's what we want. If you can't give us 6'6" and explosive like that, we don't want you. And that's how the NBA is set up now. So you got to be really special to really be in the NBA.
Yeah, because it's a giant hurdle. The height has always been a giant hurdle.
Right. See, my height, I'm 6'6". At that size, Bradley Beal is my size. Draymond's my size, but Draymond is like more of he's like he went to Michigan State, so that's a big thing. Didn't they get to the national championship that year he played?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
That's enough stock to get to the NBA. So if I was, like I said, it all goes down to recruiting. If I was to go D1 and play the way I played at Nancy Smith, there's no telling where I would be at today. But
well, yeah, I think the lid got taken off the NBA about 3 years ago when they went to the true height measurement and found out that all the 7-footers that were out there wasn't that many 7-footers. And then the last thing I kind of want to end it with is your personal opinion on a new something that's going on in the world today. So the G League has come up with a program to offer 18-year-olds out of high school money fresh out, which is a direct competition with the NCAA. So kind of I just want your thoughts on that.
I'm all for it because NCAA, like I said earlier, NCAA is really pimping these students, and they don't realize the NCAA don't realize how much money they make off these players. It's not just basketball. NCAA covers everything: lacrosse, baseball, bowling, football, whatever sport these schools have. The NCAA has to have a clearinghouse for, and they take over everything. So if a student is a part of a Duke and Duke wants to pay that player, that should be their business. But because NCAA is so far up in these schools, they have these rules where you're not allowed to do stuff. And it bothers me because it's like, well, if a guy wants to be paid from a school, there should be no reason why the school that's a problem for the NCAA. And and it shouldn't be a problem with NCAA rules where coaches are not allowed to talk to players at a certain time of the season to be able to recruit. I think that's also a big issue with high school because you look at the players now, Kobe, KG, LeBron, a lot of guys that came out of high school, and I'm pretty sure those guys have been talked to by college coaches, have been talked to by NBA agents, NBA coaches before they even left the high school. And I think that's probably why the NCAA decided to stick their foot in that and be like, you're not allowed to do this because really our main goal is education. But you can't say that because these guys are one and done. Most of the guys that are ESPN top 100, at least 30 of them are one and done. So they're going to go to school and waste their time at school just to play, not care about and I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say that the education, they don't care about the education because I feel like some players do. But the money is there. They're not going to want to play 4 years of college and then go over to NBA when the money is there. So I'm glad that the G League decided to be like, you know what, we're going to start giving players $500,000 because the G League didn't have enough money at the time to get enough star power. So when you got players like that just left for the high school to go to the G League, I'm all for it because it's like now the G League has enough money. Players is not just looking for NBA no more. They're like, well, I go to the G League and make $500,000. That still changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
don't
then you
have
know
to
what?
go for it
Yeah, you might
30,
be able
40
to
minutes.
develop into a, like you said yourself, your game has matured, and you might be able to develop into a professional during that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. And see, the thing is, I'm glad that G League has that type of money now. I'm willing to go work out for the G League teams. There's a team in Greensboro called the Greensboro Swarm. I have opportunity to go try out for them. But the politics of the game is they bring 150 players in and only take one, or they might not take any. So I wanted to make sure I was on tip top shape, make sure I was on my best form in order to try out for a team like that. So I had the opportunity to play for them. But the G League, being able for the G League to do what they're able to do now for high school kids, just opens the door for other opportunities. And once these overseas teams start paying like that, nobody's gonna want to just be focused on NBA anymore. 2020 NBA might not be a goal anymore.
Yeah.
And people are like, shoot, 500,000, I could take care of my family, I could take care of myself. I don't need. I mean, of course, I would want it, but I don't need $11 million every 2 months just to enjoy basketball or just to take the risk that, all right, I need NBA. I need NBA. I'm glad that the G League are doing this. Now they're going to put a lot of fire under the NCAA to figure out, okay, what we're going to do. Are we going to start paying these players something or what? Like, we have to give them something, because now you got players that are part of NCAA that still have to take loans out to cover what they got to cover to make sure that they stay in school. So they got to figure a lot out at this point. 2020, figure it out now. So players is going to G League now. You're going to lose 100 players that can go to top schools because you don't want to pay players. Zion Williamson was a prime example. Jordan wanted to sponsor him shoes as soon as he blew his shoe out. They wanted to pay him right now to make sure his shoes is taken care of so he can be an asset in the NBA. They wanted to do that right away. And NCAA is like, if you get involved, you're going to ruin his stock. I'm just like, wow. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely
So
ridiculous.
I'm so happy that G League is doing that, and I know how much G League is worth, which will give me more of an opportunity. I think every year, if I don't make a team, I'm going to try out for somebody else. I want a chance now to try out for the
Try and
G
touch
League
on that
too.
money.
Yeah, for sure. That money will change my life. So, and overseas money is good, but it's not enough for me to be comfortable like that. No, not at all. So.
Well, that's all I've got. I want to take a minute right now to just thank you for taking some time and answering these questions. And you've been watching some of our shows and stuff like that, and me and you've been playing Xbox and talking about it. So I really I'm very I'm in debt to you. I'm very thankful that you took this time to help me out and do this interview.
All right, man. I'm just happy to be here, man. To be able to be able to talk about what's going on, how my life has been even before I just started to play basketball professionally. I'm glad I took the opportunity to tell other people how my life has been. So it's a pleasure for you having me, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And maybe once, Corona decides to get out of here and you go overseas, get established again, I would love to have another sit down. It'll probably have to be like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning here, but we'll have another sit down and you can kind of give me some more talk about what's going on out there while you're playing. That would be great.
Okay. No problem, man. No problem. I'm definitely on board the 4-4 on goal. So just keep me posted from here on out, and I'll make sure I promote.
All right. Thank you so much. This is Sam Torres signing off of the third episode of Sit Downs with Sammy. This is going to be posted on our page. And make sure you're following Emilio's career. He's got an Instagram. And, you're going to be hearing his name a lot through our page as well, because I'll be keeping up with this. So thank you again, Emilio.
Thank you, man. Take care.
You too.